friendly. And I feel like once I've met somebody on video, like the first time I meet them in flesh, I don't even call it in real life anymore or in person, because I feel the video gives me that kind of energy with them. But when I meet them in flesh, we hug each other like we've known each other before. Video is the killer app. In many ways, it doesn't replace the human experience, but it's a great way after you've met people here to jump on a video call with someone to continue the conversation and not wait for the formality of it. So the 21st century leader knows how to take the technology and integrate it into the business and have it part of work. When I was an innovator in residence last year, we started Working Out Loud. John Stepper from Deutsche Bank has a great book out on Working Out Loud, but it's really about how do we collaborate in a better way using collaboration platforms. And we reduced our meetings, our face-to-face meetings, we reduced them by 50%. And we became much more effective in being able to collaborate in a different way, and we use technology to work for us, not against us. And then the last area for the 21st century leader is not how much you do, it's not the activity. It's about the impact that you make. It's about the co-creation. Who did you work with? How did this come out? Did you find an unlikely partner that we never would have thought, and a great idea because we're doing some amazing things out in the marketplace? So what we need for the 21st century is a mindset shift. We don't need more change programs. We don't need more initiatives, because we know change is constant. Things are going to change all the time. What we need is a different kind of thinking for the world, because there's no more B2B or B2C. It's human to human. If I can now go back into my room and write a review, right? I mean, it's human to human. I'm no longer a statistic of 35% and 70% thing. I'm not a trend. I'm actually a human being that's here to interact with other human beings. And that is one of the craziest thing about social media today. Most of the platforms we have today aren't geared for us. They're an extension of an advertising tool. They're an extension of a broadcasting tools. I have a friend who does all his business through Twitter. All his business, he's based out of the UK, all his business comes from Twitter because he knows how to use Twitter to build relationships. And I know that the major brands haven't really caught on to how do you use social media to build relationships. I was telling Stan earlier that I had a problem with my electric company, and when I used to have a problem with my cable company, I would just tweet them and I would get a response within an hour. But with the electric company, I got no response. So I went on LinkedIn. I mean, what do you do, right? You don't get a response. So I went on LinkedIn and I wrote an open letter to the CEO of the electric company. I mean, what could you do, right? There's no other option. You call the number, nobody's talking to you. So you tweet, nobody responds. And I had the director of customer relations come to my house. And I said to her, you know, who owns your Twitter account inside the company? And she said, oh, that's corporate communications. And I said, well, who works in your company with customers? Is there a corporate communications person in my house? I don't see them, right? And so who owns your account is really important. And I could tell by tweeting with brands whether they've hired an intern and it's just a churn. I mean, I offered United Airlines to come and help them. You know, I'm a million-mile flyer. I've offered to come and help through the Twitter account, but I'm sure the people at United never got that message as well. And just helping from being a frequent traveler. So the human-to-human economy becomes really important because we each have a voice. And I think corporations are getting really anxious when they're starting to see a lot of people go out and work for themselves. And how are we going to get the talent? Well, the key is to look inside and say, how do we keep people? Because we spend so much energy recruiting the best talent, and then we bring them in the organization and there's nothing. There's maybe onboarding or there's something there. There's a huge opportunity there when you stop segmenting and fragmenting. I'm working with a Peruvian shaman, and one thing that I learned from him is that in our Western culture, we continue to fragment. We have generations, we have gender, we have all this fragmentation instead of really thinking about how do we become whole, how do we come together? Because I'm here to tell you that in the 20th century, we had this myth. and it was called work-life balance. And I saw it on many of the surveys of people here, right? We had this myth, because in the 20th century, we got this memo that said we were two people. We had our personal self and we had our professional self. We were these two people that never should the two meet. And we had to somehow figure out how to balance it. Well, we don't balance. In the 21st century, and this is not just millennials, in the 21st century, we want to be whole. In the 21st century, we're life working. We have a life, and then we're working. And that's where we're headed in the 21st century. And I'll tell you a simple story. So here I am getting an introduction to Jamie Anderson. Jamie Anderson is one of the top 20 management gurus rated by the Financial Times. He's Australian, based out of Brussels. He's got a couple of really amazing TED Talks. One of them is about Lady Gaga, Gandhi, and management. And we jump on a 30-minute Skype call, and we do research about each other. We start talking. And 20 minutes into the Skype call, Jamie said to me, "Hey, would you like to co-author an article with me about life working? I love this concept that you're birthing around life working." And I said, "Hey, sure." So there we are, and we decide that we're going to work together. 30 minutes of Skype. 2 days later, he says, "How about we each write 5,000 words, and then we'll figure it out." 2 days later, I get an email. It's Jamie's 5,000 words, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm busy. You know? And I look at it, and didn't take me 2 days. It took me a bit longer. I send him my words, and then we get on another Skype call, and he goes, "You know, I really like your writing, but we're going for more traditional business publications, and I'm a PhD dropout, so I have a little bit of aversion to that." He said, "How about I take a stab and I edit the article?" And I'm like, "Sure, go ahead." So we got published this summer in the London Business School Review with an article on life working. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about unlikely partnerships. That's what I'm talking about. Forget about who you're going for drinks and coffee with, and include in that, who are you Skyping with? Who are you doing Google Hangouts with? Who are you connecting with? Because the world is open, and you could connect with people, and things could happen. And it was great, because I could tell my story as a former, about firing myself from corporate America and losing my family over it, because I was so busy traveling. And getting awards for being a great traveler, but not really focused on the home front as much. And Jamie took a conscious decision with his wife and 2 kids, and they came up with their life working plan, where he changed his life so he could spend more time with his family, because unlike me, at a lot earlier, and he also wanted to go back into professional cycling, and he just won second place in a race in South Africa. So anything is possible in this new world of life working, because we have to really spend some time asking ourselves, what does success mean to us? And think about it. In this industry, why do people go on vacation? Why do they want to get away, right? And if we had more people who were successful in the art of living, there's a lot more to think about. How can I work from anywhere? Because a lot of companies now are willing to make that happen. So I want to tell you a couple of stories about 21st century leaders that I'm interviewing for the book. The first one is Ronnie Zeiger. And Ronnie has created the most amazing peer-to-peer community called Smart Patients. And it's for cancer patients to talk to each other. And I didn't realize, I knew that Ronnie was at Google before, but I didn't realize what he did at Google. So here I am working on that chapter on the book. And I look up Ronnie, and I'm like, oh my God, he's the former chief Google Health Search guy. He was there for 6 years, and he found that it was more effective to be able to connect people while they're going through the disease and create support for them and their family. He's actually created a new program where he took 6 cystic fibrosis patients and made them the teachers, and made the doctors and the clinicians the patients. And they had to simulate a day in a life of. And it's pretty amazing. He then took it into Parkinson's disease and other areas. And I said to him, there's such a great application for what you're doing in healthcare and business. Because can you imagine if the senior management spent a day in a life of someone, they would really understand the business from a different perspective. So Ronnie's one of my heroes because he's also an amazing, amazing dad and teaches his kids a lot about the 21st century. And Leslie Thompson is another one of my heroes. She's CEO of a large healthcare hospital where she started to go out when she took on a really disastrous situation in this center. She went out and personally talked to 700 to 800 people and listened and created programs unlike anything that you could imagine. I talked a little bit about the B Corp movement. So Brian Welsh used to be the publisher of Utne and Mother Earth, Mother Jones. He's left that position now to run the new media company for the B Corps. And he's a farmer. He's a farmer from Kansas. And when I interviewed him, it was amazing because the stories that he told me were about farming. He said, you know, if I had to go half a mile east or half a mile west, I'd have to have different livestock, I'd have to have different soil, I'd have to do different things on my farm. And yet in business, we're trying to get all these best practices from each other and not really understanding ourselves. And I talked to another woman who's created the first ever eco-friendly line of clothing for children and toddlers. It's called Donna Inc. And it's amazing to talk to these people. She's a B Corp as well, because for her, she wants to make sure that everybody knows each piece of clothing, what hearts and hands went into it. Because I didn't know this, 1 in 6 people around the world work in the garment industry. And it's the second largest polluting industry in the world. And her tagline for kids is wearing the world. So this is part of a new movement that's coming out. So 21st century leaders, what they do, what we do as 21st century leaders, we build community, we bring people together. The biggest important currency for the 21st century is relationships and trust. Anybody ever have trust broken with someone? It's so hard to get it back, right? And that's where the relationship piece, like let's stop selling. Let's start connecting, let's start co-creating, let's start having conversations, because that's the 20th century. It drives me crazy that all these social media platforms have like followers, friends, connectors, stalkers. I mean, you know, if they're truly social, you wouldn't be followed. You would be connecting and co-creating and partnering. Where's the social media platform that tells me how many partners I have? What are my trusted relationships out there in the world? Because these are the currencies. And these are the questions that each of us need to ask ourselves, both as individuals and as companies. Who do you trust? And who trusts you? In your 5 years or 3-year strategic planning process, how much time is spent asking who trusts you and who do you trust? And how do you build those relationships with unlikely partners? The other amazing things that happen is what happens when you hang out with people that you don't normally hang out with, right? You collide. Things happen. If you keep going to the same events, you're going to keep colliding with the same people, which is great, but get a goal for yourself to go somewhere else. Anybody here been to, I don't know if I saw you, but anybody here been to the Business Innovation Factory conference in Rhode Island? If you've got people who are innovators, right? 500 people get for 2 days, and they hear 32 crazy stories around innovation. And people reveal vulnerability in that. It's amazing. There are conferences like Pop Tech. There are all these other events out there that take you out of the norm of what you're used to. And also think about where can you collide with different people. And there are tons of examples. I'm not going to stand here and list them all, but if you keep hanging, it's like, does this remind you of that quote from Einstein? If we keep doing the same things over and over, you know, nothing's going to change. And it's amazing when you start colliding with people in the universe, what you can co-create as a result. So listening becomes really, really, really important. I mean, there are people here that have so much valuable information, and I don't mean just surveys are great. I worked in market research for a long time. I was a public opinion pollster in Canada. I understand the value of research and statistics. But listening is an undervalued skill. of really being able to understand where people are coming from. Last year, when we started to do design labs for the pharmaceutical company, we found out that 95% of the people who designed clinical trials never talked to a patient. Never talked to a patient until we started to bring them together in labs so they could talk to the people that they're actually designing for. And I mean, they probably talked to family members who were ill, but they really didn't talk more widely to that. So empathy and listening becomes more important. And you could listen. You know, when I was at Cisco, I would tell the sales guys, I don't care if you tweet or not, but if you don't do your research on Twitter like you do on Google, then shame on you. Because there is so much data and information that you could connect with that's on Twitter. So I showed them how to use Twitter to be able to be better salespeople, because they could connect and have different conversations with our customers as a result. So connect and collaborate or become irrelevant. So the world is open and connected. We don't have to ask for permission anymore. People can connect with us. I mean, I met Leslie because somebody told her about me, and she reached out on LinkedIn. And instead of just accepting her invite, I sent her an email and I said, hey, great to connect. What can we do? And I ended up interviewing her for the book for 4 hours. In the future of life working, we're conscious leaders. And what we do is we lead with a mindset of what's possible and a notion that there is enough for everybody. The future is no longer about competition and getting a fair share of the pie. Sorry, I thought the slide wasn't up, so I never read my slides. I was like, okay. And that's what the future is. Think about your life work. Somebody asked me a couple weekends ago, what do you do when you don't work? I'm like, I don't understand that question because I life work. And it doesn't matter. This is my purpose. This is why I'm here. And everything's fast, right? But we could slow it down. Anybody feel stressed out right now? You know, what am I going to golf today? Yeah. Is that massage really going to be good? Wonder what they're having for dinner. So, you know, the companies that get it, the companies that are moving in the direction that we're looking for, they're doing it with a purpose and on the edges. They see people as people, not as segments, and they value conversations. And what's new is old, which is trust and relationships, become much, much more important in the 21st century. And so I'm going to leave you with this. The future, which if you talk to a shaman, he'll tell you there's no such thing as a future. There's now and now and now and now. And he said, you know, there's no future. It's now, and it's what you can imagine, which if you shut your eyes and think about your 7-year-old self, what you can imagine for the world and possibilities, because anything and everything is possible for us because we are living in the most amazing time to be alive. Question to you, will you stick to what you know, or will you jump into the journey with me and make it our journey? The book that I'm writing is called Our Journey to Business Common Sense, What's New is Old. It changed a couple times. In the beginning, I called it A Journey. But as people started to showing up through Twitter and LinkedIn and all these other places, and people I knew through relationships that I got to interview and talk to, and I'm so excited about sharing their stories with everybody because they're amazing stories of people that are doing amazing work in the world. And what they have is they have courage, they have the ability to build community, and they know how to look at unlikely partnerships. So sometimes I get asked, what do you mean by unlikely partnerships? I think about if you get very clear about what business you're in. What is it that your business does? Not what's on the mission or vision statement or the posters on the walls, but what business are you in? And you think about who else could benefit from it. You will find unlikely partners. I'm now involved with 3 super groups of people where people have found me and they said, hey, let's talk. And they want to go in and do work in very large organizations. And I just spent 2 days in Philadelphia before a keynote with a group of 9 people that I didn't know. And I'm like, how did each one of you get here? And the stories are unbelievable, but I'm out of time. And the bottom line on that is that we're getting together on the outside to work together in new ways. We're not saying, oh, we need to compete on this. We're thinking about how can we create whole organizations? How could we partner in new ways? And it's not happening as much on the inside organizations. So when you start thinking about unlikely partners, think about something cool that your customers would love. And who can you tap into in a different way and go create it? So thank you so much. I'll be here tonight at dinner. Look forward to conversations. I'll be online. I don't need any more stalkers, but I would love to have more unlikely partners. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Site Foundation would like to recognize and thank one of this year's Ruby sponsors, Hilton Worldwide. Will Kim Smith please stand? There's Kim, yes. Site Foundation thanks you and Hilton Worldwide for your continued commitment and support of the 2015 Site Classic. And now please direct your attention to the screen for a closer look